Every person in this video was, at some point, completely finished. Bankrupt, enslaved, exiled, imprisoned. One of them lost his entire fortune at the bottom of the sea. Another lost his family, his freedom, and very nearly his mind. By every measure the world uses, they had lost. And yet you know their names 2,000 years later, while the people who ruined them are dust. This is the oldest secret the Stoics ever taught, that what happens to you is not the story. What you do with it is. The loss is only the raw material, the lemon, and what you build from it, that is entirely yours to decide. So here are 7 people who were handed the worst life has to offer and turned it into something the world could never forget. Stay to the end for number 7. A man who spent 7 years in a torture camp and walked out saying it was the making of him. Let's begin. Around 300 years before Christ, a wealthy merchant named Zeno loaded a ship with Tyrian purple, the most expensive dye in the ancient world, worth more than its weight in silver. It was his family's fortune, floating on the water. The ship went down. The cargo was lost. Zeno washed up in Athens with nothing, a rich man turned beggar in a single night. Most men would have spent the rest of their lives mourning that ship. Zeno wandered, broke, and aimless, into a bookshop. There he heard a reading of the great philosophers, and something in him woke up. He asked the bookseller, "Where can I find a man like this?" At that moment, a philosopher walked past, and the shopkeeper said, "Follow him." So he did. Zeno gave the rest of his life not to trade, but to wisdom. He began teaching on a painted porch in Athens. From that porch came the name of everything he built, Stoicism, the philosophy that would guide emperors, slaves, and soldiers for the next 2,000 years, and that you are hearing about right now. Late in life, Zeno said the thing that defines this entire channel: "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck." He didn't mean he was glad to lose the money. He meant that losing it forced him onto the only road that led to who he was meant to become. The disaster and the destiny were the same event. Here is the lesson for you. The thing you're grieving right now, the money, the job, the plan that sank, may not be the end of your story. It may be the storm that finally pushes you toward the shore you were supposed to reach. You just can't see the porch yet. Zeno couldn't either, until he could. Diogenes was born to wealth, the son of a banker. Then it all collapsed. His family was disgraced, run out of their city, and Diogenes arrived in Athens with nothing but the clothes on his back. He made a choice that scandalized everyone. Instead of chasing his fortune back, he decided to own almost nothing at all. He slept in a large ceramic jar in the marketplace. He ate what he was given. He threw away his last wooden bowl when he saw a boy drinking from his cupped hands. "A child has beaten me at simplicity," he said. And from inside that poverty, he became the freest man in Greece. He feared no one because he needed nothing. He mocked the powerful to their faces because they had nothing he wanted. One day, the most powerful man on earth came to see him. Alexander the Great, conqueror of the known world, stood over this homeless philosopher and offered him anything he desired, anything at all. Diogenes looked up and said, "Yes, stand a little out of my sunlight." The soldiers laughed, expecting Alexander to have him killed. Instead, the king went quiet. As he walked away, he told his men, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Think about that. The man who owned everything envied the man who owned nothing, because the homeless man had the one thing conquest can't buy. He could not be threatened, bribed, or moved. The lesson for you: the world gets its grip on you through what you're afraid to lose. Diogenes lost it all first and discovered that on the other side of that fear was a freedom kings could only dream of. You don't have to live in a jar, but the less your peace depends on things that can be taken, the less anyone can ever take from you. Epictetus began life owning nothing, not even himself. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire, property of a wealthy man in Nero's court, and at some point his leg was broken and left crippled for life. There's an old account of how it happened, that his master, in a cruel mood, was twisting his leg. Epictetus said calmly, "If you keep doing that, you will break it." The master kept going. The leg snapped, and Epictetus simply said, "There, I told you it would break." No scream, no rage, just the quiet truth. Whether every detail is exact or not, it captures the man. Because Epictetus had discovered the single idea that would make him unbreakable, the idea at the heart of all Stoicism. Some things are in our control, and some things are not. Our body, our reputation, our circumstances, not fully ours, but our judgments, our choices, our response, those are ours completely, and no one, not even a master, can touch them. They could own his body. They could break his leg. They could not reach the part of him that decided what it all meant. That part was free while he was still a slave. Eventually he was freed, and he became one of the most important teachers in history. Emperors would study his words. Marcus Aurelius built his private philosophy on them. A crippled former slave became the teacher of the master of the world. The lesson for you: you may not control what was done to you, but the meaning you assign it, the person you choose to be in response, that was never theirs to take. That's the ground you stand on, and it holds even when everything else gives way. Boethius had everything. Born into one of Rome's greatest families, brilliant, wealthy, he rose to become the right hand of a king. He had a loving wife, 2 sons who became consuls, and a mind respected across the empire. Then it all came apart in an instant. He was accused, falsely, of treason, stripped of his rank, thrown in prison, sentenced to death. He went from the height of Roman power to a cell, awaiting an execution he knew was coming and had done nothing to deserve. Anyone would have broken, raged at the injustice, drowned in self-pity in the time he had left. Instead, in that cell, waiting to die, Boethius wrote a book. He imagined philosophy herself appearing to him as a woman, and the two of them talking through the deepest question a ruined man can ask. How do you find peace when fortune has taken everything? His answer became the consolation of philosophy. He wrote that fortune is a wheel, always turning. It lifts you up, it casts you down, and the wise man doesn't cling to the top or despair at the bottom, because he never believed the wheel belonged to him in the first place. What you truly are, your character, your mind, your goodness, fortune can't touch. He was executed. But that little book, written in a death cell, became one of the most read, most loved works of the next 1,000 years. Copied by hand, translated by kings, carried through the Middle Ages as a light in the dark. The lesson for you: peace is not something the world hands you when things go well. It's something you build on the inside that holds even when things go wrong. Boethius proved it in the worst circumstance imaginable and left the proof for you. If these stories are hitting you the way they hit me, stay with me, because the next 3 are the ones most people have never heard, and they're the hardest. A statesman exiled to a barren island. A man who lost his entire family to the death camps. And the one I promised you, 7 years of torture and a man who called it a gift. Keep going. Seneca was one of the most famous minds in Rome, a celebrated writer and senator. Then, palace politics turned on him. On a charge many believed was invented, the emperor banished him to the island of Corsica, a rocky, isolated place, far from everyone and everything he loved. 8 years. That's how long he sat in exile, cut off from his career, his city, his life. It would have been easy to rot there in bitterness. Instead, Seneca went to work on himself. He read, he wrote, he studied philosophy, and hardened his mind against the very thing that had happened to him, the sudden, unfair reversal of fortune. He wrote letters on how to endure loss, how to value time, how to be self-sufficient when the world has stripped you down to yourself. And then the wheel turned again. He was recalled to Rome, not just pardoned, but elevated, made tutor and advisor to the future emperor. The exile came back as one of the most powerful men in the empire. But here's what mattered. The years on the rock had already made him unshakable before the power came. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." He had learned that lesson on an empty island, which is exactly why success didn't corrupt him the way it corrupts men who never lost anything. The lesson for you: exile, being cut off, left out, sidelined, is not wasted time. It can be the forge. What you build in the quiet, when no one's watching and it feels like your life is on pause, is often the foundation everything good later stands on. Use the island. Don't just endure it. Viktor Frankl was a young psychiatrist in Vienna with a manuscript he'd spent years on, his life's work. Then the Nazis came. He was sent to the concentration camps, Auschwitz, and others after it. They took everything. His freedom, his possessions, the manuscript, torn from him and destroyed. And worst of all, his family, his wife, his mother, his father, his brother. Nearly everyone he loved died in those camps. He survived years of starvation, cold, and cruelty designed to erase a human being completely. And in that place, the lowest hell human beings have ever built, Frankl noticed something that would define the rest of his life. The prisoners who survived were not always the strongest. They were the ones who still had a why, a reason, someone to live for, a task left undone, a meaning to carry them through the suffering. He realized that the guards could control everything about him except one thing. They could not control the attitude he took toward his own suffering. "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing," he wrote, "the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." He survived, and he rebuilt his lost book from memory, turning the camps into the heart of it. That book, Man's Search for Meaning, has since helped tens of millions of people find a reason to keep going. His greatest loss became the source of his greatest gift to the world. The lesson for you: meaning is not something you find only when life is good. It's the very thing that carries you through when life is at its worst. Even stripped of everything, you keep the last freedom to decide what this will mean and who it will make you. In 1965, a Navy pilot named James Stockdale was shot down over enemy territory. As he parachuted toward capture, he said to himself a line that sounds impossible for a man falling into hell: "I am leaving the world of technology and entering the world of Epictetus." Years earlier, at Stanford, a professor had handed him the writings of that crippled former slave, the same Epictetus from earlier in this video. Stockdale had carried the ideas quietly ever since. Now, he would need them to survive. He spent over 7 years as a prisoner of war, 2 of them in leg irons, 4 in solitary confinement. He was tortured more than a dozen times. As the senior officer, he was responsible for the other men, and he was punished the hardest, and he held. He remembered Epictetus, that some things are in our control and some are not. He could not control the ropes, the beatings, the years. He could control whether they broke his character. When his captors planned to parade him as propaganda, he beat and cut his own face so they couldn't use him, refusing to be their tool even at the cost of his own body. He kept the men alive with a secret code they tapped on the walls, a whole invisible society of resistance. And when he finally walked free after 7 years, he was not a broken man. He was a leader who had proven, in the worst place on earth, that the human spirit could refuse to bow. Later he described what saved him. Face the brutal facts of your reality, honestly and completely, and never lose faith that you will prevail in the end. Hold both at once. That is the Stoics' answer to despair. The lesson for you, and the reason I saved him for last: your worst chapter does not get to write your ending. What breaks other people can become the exact thing that reveals how unbreakable you are. 7 people. A merchant who lost his fortune at sea, a homeless man who humbled a king, a slave, a prisoner in a death cell, an exile on a barren rock, a man who lost his whole family, and a pilot who endured 7 years of torture. Every single one of them was handed lemons, real ones, the kind that would end most people. And every one of them made something the world could never forget. That's the whole idea behind this channel. The best revenge really is success. Not revenge against the people who wronged you, but against the loss itself. And when life hands you lemons, you already know what the wise have always done with them. So whatever your lemon is right now, sit with these 7. They walked out the other side. So can you. If this gave you something, subscribe to Success Lemonade. I make these every week. Take one small step today, and I'll see you in the next one.